protect someone by insisting that they have a painful death or a prolonged death. Surely we should give a competent person the right to make that decision themselves. In Marie dying, it has not put an end to the whole concept of getting the law changed, and I'd just like to explain what's happening from that point of view. There is a working group put together of 4 barristers who are now putting together a bill which will be presented to the law. And they're taking different aspects of the bill, and 2 of them are working very hard on safeguards, because to me that is probably the most important part. That the idea of giving anybody the choice is absolutely ludicrous. That we have to limit it to a certain number of people. We have to limit it to people who are ill. Suicide is not limited to people who are ill, but to get assistance, I personally feel should be, but that's just my opinion. That legislation is being worked on and will probably be ready by about the autumn. We're looking at all the legislations from all around the world, and we will make sure that situations like Holland don't exist. Because the other misconception that seems to be there is the difference between assisted dying and euthanasia. Euthanasia is practiced here all the time because the decision is made by the medical profession, not by the person dying. It happens in hospices, it happens in people's homes, but the decision is taken out of the hands of the person whose life we're talking about, or death we're talking about. So that is, we are still working on getting the law changed. The Labour Party have agreed to back it. Fine Gael have said that they won't touch it with a barge pole, and at the moment Fianna Fáil are undecided because they would like a barge pole probably to beat Fine Gael with. So, I mean, there's political motives there, but that is happening. But also at the same time to prove that we do respect the decision of people who do decide that they want to live on, irrespective of the sufferings. I am also working together with the hospice movement, very strongly with the hospice movement, and Sharon Foley, who's the CEO of the hospice movement, and lots of other organisations such as the MS Society, the Alzheimer's Society, to provide training, end-of-life training, for people like myself who were caring for people who were coming to the end of their lives. Because that was one of the things that would have made Marie's life an awful lot more comfortable. If I, as a carer, had the right training, the right end-of-life training to deal with her particular situation. And palliative care is probably one of the most wonderful, to me it's the best form of medicine that exists, because it's the only branch of medicine that accepts that a person is going to die. Every other branch of medicine tries their best to keep them alive, just for the sake of medicine, not for the sake of the person. But palliative care recognises that the person is going to die. Unfortunately, it's not funded that well, but just because palliative care doesn't exist doesn't mean we should take the choice away from people. It's not a question of, if that's not there, you have to do this. It's a matter of choice as to which we want. It's also very well recognised that palliative care, in about 20% of cases, can't help at all. The one area that palliative care is very effective at is pain control. But even in 20% of those cases, they can't control pain without comatose the people. And if that's a choice the person doesn't want, I feel we should give that choice to the person. They can't deal with an awful lot of other things such as fatigue and incontinence, and lots of the things that come with I suppose, progressive illness like MS. Technically, MS is not a terminal illness, but it leads to a person's death. So those 2 things are running in parallel, but to me the whole concept is about choice, and choice of the individual, choice of the competent individual. And even by definition, we have a legal level of competence that excludes infants, that excludes children. By legal definition, they are not competent to make their own decisions. So by limiting it to competent people, we've already ruled that out, that people can make the decisions for children. Thank you for listening.
Yes, Thomas, up there to see if there was a question. I just want to maybe ask for clarification on one point. The law allows for individuals currently to take their own
assist another person to take their life if that person is capable of taking their life themselves, but it's assistance that's provided, such as even giving them the drugs, or what in legal terms is known as counselling, which is more or less encouragement. They're liable to be prosecuted under the Section 2 of the Suicide Act, which they are liable to be prosecuted with assisted suicide, which carries a term of 14 years. If they go so far as would have been necessary in our situation to actually take the person's life, they will be charged with murder. There's no, to the best of my knowledge, there's no law of euthanasia here in this country. So it comes under the thing of murder.
Seems to be a bit of anathema that if the law allows for someone to take their own lives in the sense of suicide, and yet they're going to charge somebody to assist somebody from dying. There seems to be an imbalance there. That's just a personal view. I'm not acting as chair because the debate's over. It's a personal view. And thank you for making that clear.
It happens to be the only law that exists in the world where it is illegal to help somebody do something that's legal.
Does that make sense to everybody? The only law. Say it again?
It's the only law that exists on any statute books where it is illegal to help someone do something that is illegal.
Well, that in many ways speaks volumes that things need to change, whether it's through legislation, otherwise things need to change perhaps. Other questions anybody here would like to put to Tom? Just perhaps you'd like, I know you've got a microphone. If you take that microphone off the top there and ask the question from there.
Is it illegal to commit suicide yourself, or is it that if you do it, or if you attempt to do it, you're caught, you won't be penalised?
No, suicide has been legal. It was made legal here in Ireland in 1993. It was made legal in England in 1961. And it was made legal here. Or it was removed as an illegal act rather than made legal. Yes.
Because like if the person does commit suicide and the person's already dead, you can't, I suppose you can't punish them.
But there was a time when the family could be prosecuted.
Okay,
But
so
that's long.
the family will be
That's long ago.
persecuted.
Yes.
So now if somebody does kill themselves, their family will be persecuted.
And if somebody attempts to commit suicide, it's not illegal here anymore.
So what will happen? So you said that they will be declared as mentally ill. So would they? Is the government, are they obliged to provide treatment for that person because they're declared as mentally ill?
No, they're obliged to prevent them from taking their own lives if they're not competent.
Okay, thank you. One of the things that perhaps should be pointed out, and I know it's been used here a couple of times this evening, the expression committing suicide is no longer a correct expression, a correct statement, because to commit something means, if you like, doing wrong, you commit a crime, So therefore, the phrase committing suicide should not be in this, if you like, debate or discussion. It is suicide or death by your own hands. That's just a point that I'd like to make. I think that's very well done. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of this evening. I very much appreciate two gentlemen, Adam and Donal, taking the time out to take part in the debate. But more so, I'm so pleased that Tom Curran has taken time out in light of last night's TV programme, tomorrow night's Late Show, and you said this is the first time you've spoken about Marie Fleming in public since she died, and perhaps it was a good thing that there are so few people here. It's more intimate and perhaps less intimidating, and I know you join me in extending our good wishes and our continued condolences and sympathies to Tom, and that Tom and people like you will continue to remain in all our thoughts and all our prayers over the coming weeks, months and years ahead, until such times as a right